This is KGW News at 11.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us for KGW News at 11. The pandemic surge is taking down in-person learning in some schools around the greater Portland area. Others are bracing for the same. Pat Doris shows us the areas impacted the most.
On what should be a busy Monday in January, 3 Portland public high schools stand quiet, closed for the day while teachers prepare for online learning. Students at Cleveland, McDaniel, and Roosevelt high schools all returning to online learning for at least the week and maybe longer. Ockley Green Middle School students will also return to distance learning. And the entire Park Rose School District is also closed for the day and also moving back to online teaching. It's a total of 7,900 students no longer learning face-to-face. State Schools Director Colt Gill warned late last week that COVID would force this change.
The primary reason is that there are too many staff impacted by COVID-19 to be able to operate schools in person. They're either ill or quarantined. This will cause challenges for everyone in that school community.
The Salem Kaiser School District is second largest in the state. It has not gone online. Among its 42,000 students, Salem Kaiser reports 61 with confirmed positive cases and 30 staff members also positive. Beaverton is the third largest district and reports that among its 39,000 students, 730 are isolated, meaning testing positive or showing symptoms of COVID, and another 581 are quarantined, meaning they had close contact with someone who's positive. The district also has 138 staff who are isolated, which is why the district warned parents it may have to move some schools to online learning soon.
There's no specific threshold point. We're taking all these factors into consideration, and it really is going to be decided on a school-by-school basis.
It's not something anyone wants to do.
Our top priority is to keep children in school for in-person instruction. That's a lesson we've clearly learned over the last 2 years, that children do better academically, socially, emotionally when they're here at school.
For comparison, Portland, with 49,000 students, is the largest district in the state. It has 813 students isolated, 565 quarantined, along with 165 staff isolated and 72 staff quarantined.
That was Pat Doris reporting. Vancouver Schools also announced several of its schools will spend 1 week learning online because of a shortage of bus drivers. Also, the Oregon Health Authority put out new case numbers, which included Friday and the weekend. It averaged about 6,000 new cases a day. State lawmakers are also closely watching the staffing crisis in Oregon's public schools. They hope to tackle the issue during their legislative session next month. Here's Christine Pitawanich with more.
We keep hearing about more schools going back to remote learning, and the reasoning in many cases is yes, due to COVID-related absences, but further than that, a lack of staff and substitutes to cover all the people who are quarantining or who have called out sick. This is Oregon Senator Michael Dembrow. He chairs the state's Education Committee, and back in December, he convened a group of about 50 people to try to fix the school staffing crisis.
The problem is getting worse by the week with Omicron.
That's why Oregon Senator Michael Dembrow brought together a group of legislators, teachers, parents, and other people in education, tasked with finding solutions to school staffing issues.
The goal here immediately is to come up with some short-term solutions that we can address in the upcoming short session of the legislature, which starts in February.
They looked at a variety of issues, from licensing and recruitment to teacher burnout. Dembrow said a couple of critical problems stood out.
I hate to say it, but our substitute teacher system is really dysfunctional. The other really problem area is in special education. That is really difficult, challenging work. You know, some of the most crucial members of that workforce are the assistants, who are pretty poorly paid. They can definitely be earning in today's job market much more in other occupations that are much easier, frankly, to do.
In fact, many of the proposed solutions involved the state putting more money toward the issues, which would need legislative action to pay for things like incentives or increased pay.
Helping with licensing fees, to get people back into the profession right away, to help substitutes, to help, attract substitutes, those kinds of things.
I mean, I know we're looking at short-term solutions, but what does short-term really mean? Like, how quickly can we put this stuff into place?
I'm not sure how much in the way of dollars could happen right away. Some of the other, non-financial things could, I think happen right away.
Dembrow says if the state gets to the school staffing issue in February during the legislative session, it's likely any money given to schools would be federal dollars or surplus the state has saved up.
So the first thing that we need to do, we need to get a better sense of just how individual districts are already spending the dollars that they've received, the federal dollars.
He's talking about federal COVID relief money that he says can be used to recruit and retain educators. But even while solutions are labeled short-term, Dembrow says they take time. It's possible additional money could go out to districts in late spring or summer.
That will help districts in their planning for next year.
But if the staffing issue isn't addressed in the upcoming short session, he says help may not come until the 2023-2024 school year.
So it really is important that we see what we can do right away.
At-home COVID-19 tests will be covered by insurers starting this Saturday. The Biden administration announced the change today, saying private health insurers will be required to cover up to 8 per month for people on their plans. Only tests purchased on or after January 15th will be required to be reimbursed. Some insurers may choose to cover the cost of at-home tests purchased earlier than that. A new law in effect this year protects people from surprise medical bills. When you go into a hospital, you may be treated by a doctor who accepts your insurance. But if someone else comes in to help who isn't in network, the patient is likely going to end up with a separate bill from that provider. The new federal law requires providers to give that information more clearly up front.
When you go to a hospital, you just assume everybody, quote, works for the hospital. And that's just not the case. Those providers and those healthcare systems have to figure out how to appropriately work together, but without moving that expense onto the consumer.
The out-of-network pitfalls are still there, but the transparency is now supposed to get better. Insurance experts say always ask up front what the cost of care is, what's covered in network, and if any out-of-network services are involved, adding to your cost. Search and rescue crews have suspended their efforts looking for a possible downed plane over the Coast Range. Despite numerous leads from witnesses that were followed up on, they never located any wreckage. Crews have been searching through thick snow-covered ground in the Coast Range last night and again most of the day today. This all started with calls to 911 yesterday from people describing what they believe to be a possible aircraft crashing with a trail of smoke. Photos also started circulating on social media, and the search was quickly launched.
The reports from those social media posts and locations and directions have given the search crews the best possible area to start their search with.
Officials said ultimately no aircraft has been reported missing and no safety beacons have been received either. The low cloud deck was a problem earlier today, but crews were able to find a short window this afternoon where they were able to search from the air. 4 Vancouver police officers are on leave tonight following the deadly shooting of an armed man, and it was all caught on a neighbor's security camera. That gunfire came after officers made several attempts to get the suspect to drop his knives. This happened around 12:30 Sunday morning in the Sky Ridge Estates in northeast Vancouver. We're told somebody called 911 to report a man inside their home was armed with knives and maybe even started a fire. As the caller and several others, children included, escaped through a window, officers confronted the armed man outside the home. Authorities say officers used a less lethal weapon in hopes of de-escalating the situation, but that didn't work. Officers ultimately shot and killed the man.
Sad, very sad, especially in our neighborhood here. It's real quiet. We know everybody, and so it's a very sad situation.
Nobody from the sheriff's office or the Vancouver Police Department wanted to go on camera to address the shooting.